A few months ago, I checked out The Division 1. I started from the beginning and slowly worked my way to the endgame, trying my best to fully understand everything it had to offer. And I loved, mostly, every second of it. Now, the time has come for me to dive into its sequel, and I have a few objectives. I'm going through the campaign and DLCs to try and understand the story, investigating mostly all the endgame systems, grinding for gear to make a viable build so I can tackle all of the endgame raids. So let's boot this thing up and see what it's all about. Loading in, I craft a very generic middle-aged white man, and we are greeted to a cutscene that does a really crappy job of catching us up on the plot of this franchise. Basically, there is a secret organization of the US government called the Strategic Homeland Division, whose job is to recruit your average American citizen and train them into a deadly sleeper agent. Division agents are told to stay undercover until they are activated when the country needs them most, which happened when an epidemic broke out that brought the world to its knees in a matter of weeks. The first game was based in New York, taking place around a month after the outbreak. In The Division 2, it's now 7 months later. In DC. Our onboard AI named Isaac, who's inside our Shade Watch, receives a distress call telling us there's some sort of resistance at the White House and they're under attack. Arriving on site, we take out the group of guys causing a ruckus out front. They see we are Division and we head inside to see how we can help. This is where we meet Manny, who will be our man on comms and gives us a rundown of what's going on in DC. Turns out the Shade Network, which runs all the Division's satellite communications, Isaac's AI, and tracks road agent activities, has gone dark. Multiple enemy factions are fighting over territory, there are many civilian outposts that need help securing resources, and there are only a small amount of agents left to fix this mess. Manny gives us the nickname of Sheriff and sends us downstairs to get acquainted with our new base of operations that will be very vital for our grind to the endgame. We have our stash for storing our precious loot, vendors to buy and sell gear, the quartermaster that allows us to upgrade skills and perks, with a bunch more that will unlock as we play through the campaign. For now, let's head to the quartermaster to pick up our first Shade skill, being the striker drone, and we make our way outside to the next mission. Now that we have a setup for the story, allow me to explain how this game works. The Division 2 has one main objective: find people to shoot and take whatever goodies they have on their bodies. Being an open world, cover-based looter-shooter, we start off weak, and by grinding content and investing time, we grow our little agent into a stupid strong killing machine. When you hit level 31, our relationship with gear changes dramatically. But for right now, I'll make it simple and lay out the basics. We have 3 weapon slots, 2 primary for your rifles, assault rifles, SMGs, LMGs, marksman rifles, shotguns, and a separate slot for a sidearm. The 2 primaries can be mixed and matched however you see fit. Do you want to run double LMGs? You do you, boo! We have 6 different gear slots with masks, backpacks, body armor, gloves, holsters, and knee pads that drop in 7 different rarities and have randomized attributes and stats. It can feel overwhelming, but for right now, I'm going to equip whatever has the bigger number. We are basically shooting, looting, swapping out our gear and weapons for better ones, and selling our trash stuff to the vendors at the White House. Leaving the base of operations, we head toward the theater settlement to look for one of the remaining Division agents that's in DC named Kelso. We meet Odessa Sawyer, and she tells us Kelso just left to find Odessa's daughter, who is being held hostage at the Grand Washington Hotel, and she asks for our help. Arriving at the hotel, Kelso sets off a bomb to distract the Hyenas, one of the 3 enemy factions we are fighting in DC. The Hyenas are a group of roaming crackheads who love killing and stealing whatever they come across. Entering the hotel, we clear out Hyenas in the basement, fight our way through the atrium, slowly making our way up to the roof where we run into Kelso. Taking out more Hyenas and their boss, we find Odessa's daughter. Kelso stays with her and sends us downstairs to take care of the reinforcements. Returning to the theater, Odessa says thanks for our help, and we unlock 4 new missions for us to choose from. The campaign has 12 main missions divided into 2 categories. You're either running errands for one of the civilian settlements, or you get a call from Manny for something that helps out the White House and the Division. Main missions don't have a exact order to play them in, but instead are divided up inside zones of the city that have different level requirements. This kind of acts as a guide for what to do next. In between the main missions, you'll be running around the absolutely gorgeous open world, with so many activities and collectibles that keep you busy for a long time. You have control points that are enemy strongholds that need to be cleared out that have a supply room at the end that provides very good rewards. You have side missions that unlock attachments for your weapons, crafting blueprints, and upgrades to the White House and civilian settlements. shade caches that are hidden all over the place, which are used for unlocks at the quartermaster, and what feels like an infinite amount of clothing items to find and collect. That leads into this game's excellent customization system. I do miss the winter jackets from the first game, but the Division 2 will allow you to look your best while blasting dudes in the face. And finally, a bunch of random reoccurring events that are just everywhere and offer sweet loot drops and XP. Now, back to the story. We enter the Jefferson Trade Center with two objectives. First is to find and restore the Isaac node, which puts us one step closer to restoring the Division's shade network, and finding the missing agent named Espinoza. We start blasting and make our way downstairs to the basement. We reactivate the node, then head back upstairs to find the missing agent. Well, we return to the White House and unlock the ability to get perks and our second shade steal. Perks in the Division 2 are streamlined this time around. They are now all passive buffs you buy with shade tech. Skills, on the other hand, are unlocked one at a time, and there are a lot to choose from. We have our classics like the Pulse to scan enemies behind cover, a deployable turret you can throw to take out enemies, the Ballistic Shield, the Seeker Mine, and some newcomers like the Chem Launcher, Drone, Firefly that I still don't know how to use, and finally the Hive. And with each skill having a few different variants that are unlocked with shade tech, you have so many setups to choose from. Getting back on track, we head upstairs and get a cutscene with Manny and Kelso that is both cringe and informative. Turns out that President Ellis, who was promoted when the last two presidents kicked the bucket, is alive and being held by one of the factions somewhere in DC. On top of that, there is a chance that a cure for the dollar flu virus that caused this whole mess could be at the Capitol building, so we have some work to do. We head to the Viewpoint Museum to take it back from the second faction fighting over DC, the True Sons, a paramilitary group made up of JTF deserters, desperate civilians, and people who don't trust the government. They are currently the most armed and organized of the three factions in DC, with their defining trait being that they can go prone. Wow. We storm the museum, fighting our way to the production studio where the True Sons are broadcasting propaganda about how the Division is just a bunch of losers and how their group is so much cooler. We shoot everyone for making fun of us, head to the roof, and kill Staff Sergeant Wade, securing Viewpoint for ourselves. Next, we arrive at the American History Museum to steal interrogation data from the True Sons, who have been using the museum as a prison to nicely ask the people they capture for information. We fight our way inside and make it to a security terminal to cause a breakout as a distraction, so we can steal the data. We head to yet another museum to stop the True Sons from using it as a makeshift factory for munitions. We enter the Air and Space Museum through the parking garage. We learn the True Sons are taking parts from decommissioned shuttles and rockets to try and build missiles. We dome the True Sons and their boss, finally destroying the parts for the missiles. We have lost contact with the castle settlement, and turns out the civilians got gassed out by the True Sons, with only a few survivors remaining. We head over to the Jefferson Plaza to get revenge and make sure they can't do that again. We enter through the subway and go up to the nearby hotel. We learn that a Captain Wilson is the one who organized the attack and has a lab in a nearby underground mall. Destroy the lab and find our way outside to finally take out Captain Wilson. Now let's get back to the important business. We need to restore the Shade Network so we can get Division communications back online across the country. We head to the NOAA headquarters so we can link our local network to the satellites on the roof, with what feels like a legion of True Sons in our way. We need to align the three satellites while defending them from True Sun reinforcements. With the satellites aligned, we head to the lower levels to fish out a power transmitter from a spaceship testing module. As we are about to grab the transmitter, when Master Sergeant Steve makes a dramatic entrance. We take out the Master Sergeant and reactivate the Shade Network, giving the Division a way to communicate nationwide. We have intel that hyenas are holding a high-value item inside the vault of the World Bank building, and we are sent in to steal whatever it is. We fight our way inside. Making our way to the lower levels, we enter the vault and have Isaac hook into the main terminal to see what the hyenas are guarding. Turns out, they have been holding President Ellis hostage this entire time, and we learn they dragged him out of the wreckage of Air Force One, which was shot down outside the Capitol building conveniently. We find the president, tell him to get down, and proceed to start blasting his captors. We escort him up to the ground level, where we evacuate him by helicopter. We return to the White House and get a cutscene where the president does a little bit of dick riding, telling us we're his top guy. He also tells us that the antiviral for the dollar flu is in DC, but the only way to gain access to it is by retrieving President Ellis's briefcase he had with him on Air Force One. Kelso says the briefcase is in the hands of the True Sons at the Capitol building, but we need to put this very important mission on pause to help out the annoying-ass settlement leaders. We head west to the campus settlement, meet their leader, and get some details on our next mission. They are getting reports there are people leaving the nearby DDC building infected with the green poison, who then try to enter civilian settlements to infect others. We enter the building to see why this is happening and run into the third and probably final enemy faction, the Outcasts, and and these guys have a little bit more of a backstory than the others. When the outbreak first began, people infected with the virus were quarantined off on Roosevelt Island, and supposedly it wasn't run very well. A bunch of people died, and the survivors took over the island, became some freaky ass cult, and decided everybody else needs to die because they suffered. And their defining trait is they have guys that go boom. We blast our way through the building, find and destroy their lab equipment, and make our escape. The Lincoln Memorial has been turned into a True Sons outpost, so we are sent over there to ask them to leave nicely. Manny tells us that the Outcast chief strategist is held up inside the nearby event center, and Kelso will be joining us to try and take this guy in for interrogation. We assault the front gate, go around back to blow up their boats so they can't escape, and enter the building to hunt this guy down. Fight off more outcasts until Kelso grabs him while we do all the work. A team of division engineers was sent to do repairs on the Shade network, but of course they have gone dark, so we have to go and save their asses. Making our way through a bunker, I get bummed rushed by an outcast, put out some fires, and reach the division agent Maya Walsh. As we are trying to leave, we have a decently fun boss fight, and with the last engineer secured, make our escape. We return to the White House and get a nice little cutscene. President Ellis gives us a speech about how awesome we are, and now that it's time to take out the last remaining enemy strongholds left in the city, with there being 3, one correlating with each faction. So let's start by kicking out the Hyenas. The remaining members of the Hyenas Council are held up at the District Union Arena. What is this council and who are their members? I have no idea. We assault the front, make our way inside, clearing the first and second concourse until we make it into the nearby mall, where we take out the first council member, making our way into the garage to blow up an armored car to force out the second council member, and we put him down. Finally, we reach the court and take out the last member dying. With that, the Hyenas leaders are in shambles, 1 stronghold down, 2 to go. We head to Roosevelt Island to find and kill the Outcast's leader, Emmeline Shaw, who was introduced to us by an optional 2-minute found footage video. Very good character development. We assault the island and head to the docks to try and stop the Outcast's boss from escaping. We destroy the fuel tanks and the boat Emmeline Shaw supposedly was on. And by supposedly, I mean she doesn't die, so we can fight her again in a different mission. But now, we need to take out the last stronghold and get the briefcase. Reaching the Capitol building, we have some allies smoke out the front lawn and we make our assault. Turn off the automatic turret defenses and breach the front entrance. We secure the statuary hall, member chamber, and make our way to the roof to kill the True Sons boss who has the president's briefcase. Heading down to the plaza, we take out a few more turrets so our helicopter can extract the package, leaving us to clean up whatever True Sons are left standing. With that, we have taken back everything in DC and have won the day. I'm sure this advancing invasion message can't be that serious, right? Well, here comes our 4th and final faction to DC, the Black Tusk. They invade, strangely, at the perfect moment to sweep in and take over every stronghold and a good chunk of territory we just cleared. Now we are given the job of retaking all 3 strongholds again, but instead of fighting crackheads, cult members, and military cosplayers, we are fighting a fully functional army. Let's speedrun this thing. District Union Arena. We go in and kill all the Black Tusk forces. Roosevelt Island. We go and destroy all the virus samples the Black Tusk are collecting. The Capitol building. We go in and do our thing. We get out. If you think I'm brushing over these, yeah, I am. Literally all the mission objectives just say to go in and kill Black Tusk, so you're really not missing much. The time has come for the true final campaign mission, taking out the Black Tusk at the Tidal Basin Stronghold. But before we do that, let's quickly grab the antiviral now that we have the president's briefcase, which is in a secret bunker in the White House's backyard. We enter the underground facility and make our way to the lab, storing the so-called cure for the dollar flu. But as we look around, the antiviral seems to be missing. There is an echo on the ground, and once Isaac does his AI reconstruction, plot twist, President Ellis is a traitor who is in bed with the Black Tusk, who now has the antivirals at Tidal Basin. From this point forward, Ellis just vanishes, but we will talk about him more later on. For now, we need to enter the Black Tusk / Stronghold and get those antivirals back. We blast our way into the Stronghold and start doing some damage. We destroy some helicopters, shoot both robot dogs that are holding the antivirals, which we signal for retrieval by helicopter. And finally, we board the Black Tusk's hovercraft to stop them from firing missiles at the White House. Kinda escalated quickly, but let's keep going. We disable the rocket launchers on the upper deck and take out the Black Tusk's boss lady to get the last antiviral canister, and with that, we have finally completed the Division 1's main campaign. If you're like me, and when the campaign ended, it left you feeling confused. Where did the Black Tusk come from? Where did that traitor Ellis go? Why were the factions and their leaders so bland? So many unanswered questions, but I will talk about the story in more detail after we finish the DLCs and story content. So let's keep this thing moving. Before we head to New York, we are given a few side missions to complete. I'm gonna speed through them quickly so I don't make this video stupid long. We arrive at Camp White Oak to track down and capture the missing traitor, President Ellis. We blast our way through until we reach Ellis's location, but he gets away. Next, Next, we head to the Manny National Zoo to take out the Outcasts leader, Emmeline Shaw, for real this time. We get to see some animals, have a boss fight with a train, and take out Miss Shaw for the second and hopefully last time. The Black Tusk are doing some freaky stuff at the Pentagon, so we go to investigate. We meet a lady who claims she knows us. I could not remember who she was for the life of me until I looked it up. Turns out, she's from the original opening to this game that was cut to save file size or something. Gotta love live service. We enter the Pentagon, kill a bunch of dudes, learn there is a bioreactor the Black Tusk are trying to steal, we stop them and take it for ourselves. Coney Island is actually a prelude to the Warlords of New York DLC, so it mostly touches us up on the story from the first game. It's like, remember the cleaners? Remember Vitaly Chernenko? Who can forget Aaron Keener? The Black Tusk want him dead, and so do we. Aaron Keener escapes into Manhattan, which then leads into the DLC. The side missions here are fine, but the locations are easily some of the best in the game, especially Coney Island. With those out of the way, let's board the helicopter and head to New York. We are joined by Agent Kelso and call in for permission to land at the Division Base of Operations, which is now located at City Hall. But nobody picks up and we see smoke rising from the building. We land and our old friend Faye Lau tells us over the radio someone set off a chemical weapon and Rikers are posted up outside shooting anyone that tries to leave. Me and Kelso take out all the Rikers, making our way inside to find dead Division and civilians everywhere from the chemical weapon that's spreading throughout the building. We take out more bad guys in the basement and head to the computer room to access the CCTV footage. We learn a group of rogue agents, led by the one and only Aaron Keener, snuck in through the subway and planted bombs containing Keener's new chemical weapon he's been cooking up. We meet up with Agent Kelso and make our way to Faye Lau's location. Okay, maybe my love for very tall buildings is showing, but the New York map in the Division 2 is just so much more visually interesting over DC, at least for me. It's missing that iconic snow from the first game, but retains that overly depressing and apocalyptic vibe. We keep moving and arrive at the Haven settlement to meet up with some old friends from the Division 1. We walk in on Faye Lau, who is recovered from her injuries, Paul Rhodes, and my personal GOAT, Roy Benitez, arguing about something that happened a few months ago. But moral of the story, Paul doesn't trust Faye and the Division anymore, and Roy just wants everyone to get along. Next, we're given a briefing about how we're gonna track down Aaron Keener. The idea is if we track down his lackeys, maybe we can get some information on where Keener is hiding. I choose to go after Javier Cajita first, and we learn he is working alongside the cleaners to take out what's left of the JTF. First, we find and stand a shade turret, so we know he's somewhere nearby. We head to the church settlement and talk to some lady who tells us to check out a tunnel that had a JTF patrol go missing. We arrive on site, take out more cleaners, move a crane, and finally learn Cajita is held up at some place called Pathway Park. We make our way over there, clear several rooms of cleaners, and track Cajita to a huge underground opening. We shoot him for a bit until he retreats deeper into the tunnel. This is where we discover that the cleaners have gotten their hands on a massive drill and are using it to tunnel underneath the Haven settlement. We fight our way into the drill, take it out of commission, and finally take out Cajita, giving us our first rogue agent steal and getting our first piece of intel on Keener's location. Next, I choose to go after Theo Parnell, who is Keener's personal nerd and who currently has a big group of Rikers as his bodyguards. We track down a crashed recon drone to see what intel we can get off of it. Head to a nearby animal shelter to talk to another random dude who directs us to some abandoned prison complex close by. We blast our way inside, head to the cafeteria where we have Isaac scan a body which reads as Theo Parnell, saying he's already dead. Interesting. We then get jumped by the real Theo, who's still alive, and follow Theo outside so we can have a boss fight with him and his holograms. We take out some Rikers and a few turrets until we supposedly kill Theo and get our second new steal, and get our second piece of intel on Keener. Third is Vivian Conley, who is the current acting leader of the cleaners after Joe Farrow was killed in the first game. We head to another safe house, talk to some random lady who directs us to a JTF outpost who recently was attacked by cleaners. We arrive and the building is on fire. We stop the fire from spreading and learn Conley is organizing the cleaners' attacks from a tanker ship stranded on the riverside. We head over there, take out the cleaners' refinery alongside their oil pump, finally boarding the ship to track down Conley. We make it to the upper deck where we have a boss fight with a flaming crane, which is pretty cool. Conley appears and after giving her the good old blasting, decides to go out in style, which unlocks our third skill. Last but not least is James Dragoff, who has Wall Street completely locked down with the help of the Rikers. We head to our last community to get info on Dragoff's stronghold in the financial district and conclude the best course of action is to just go in the way we always do. We enter through the front door, take out a large number of Rikers, go outside to be greeted by an APC, which gives me some flashbacks. We chase Dragoff down to the Wall Street trading floor where we put the big guy down, giving us our fourth new skill and the intel we need to finally track down Keener. Lastly, we quickly head over to Pier 26 to destroy Dragoff's laboratory he was using to make Keener's new chemical weapon called the Eclipse virus. And with that, we have have all the intel we need to find and take out Aaron Keener for good. We made our way to the ferry terminal to catch a ride to Liberty Island, which is his last known location. But our old friends from DC, the Black Tusk, decide to pull up and try to take out Keener for the second time. We meet up with Kelso and make our way to the bridge to drive this boat to the island. On our approach, Black Tusk open fires, causing us to make a happy landing, which takes Kelso out of commission. We make our way to Lady Liberty, fighting what feels like the entire army of the Black Tusk until we make it inside where Keener does his whole villain speech about how we are actually the bad guys, he's trying to save America, and why we can't trust anyone. He's obviously lying to us, right? Next, we chase him outside where he has a whole ass missile filled with his brand new fancy Eclipse virus pointed right at Manhattan. Let's take this guy down. We hack a few generators, destroy weak points on the launcher until Keener himself comes out to play. Until he retreats to a nearby dock, we give chase and find him wounded, struggling to move. Kelso joins us after we did all the work. Keener gives us a warning, something bad is going to happen, and lets out his last breath, which is quickly confirmed by Isaac. But plot twist, Keener's watch starts playing an intercepted communication between the one and only Fei Lao and a high-ranking Black Tusk member, Barton Schaefer, revealing that Fei has gone rogue, sided with the Black Tusk, then turns to the camera to give her generic villain speech about how she's going to destroy the division, yada yada. I can say I did not see this coming, but it does feel a little out of nowhere. Anyway, we get one final cutscene, where we meet up with Paul and Roy, who are gassing us up for saving the city. Paul says he was right about not trusting Fei Lao, and we get the Keep Keener Shade Watch, which is actually very important to our endgame grind. With that, we have finished the Warlords of New York expansion and returned to DC. After the Warlords of New York expansion was released, the Division 2 entered a seasonal model, with one season lasting around 3 months, which provides new content, of course a battle pass, and more story in the form of Manhunts. The biggest problem with seasons and being a new player like myself is that most of the story and narrative from those past seasons are just deleted from the game, leaving the climax mission as the only real piece of story content. This system is extremely stupid, because there's absolutely zero way for me to fully understand the Division 2 story. I have to leave and do my own research elsewhere. It's very frustrating. But for right now, I'm going to speed through a few of the manhunts I think are necessary so we can get the gist of what's going on. For my story overview, I will do soon. First, we'll do the Fei Lao manhunt. We head back to Camp White Oak to fight our way through waves of Black Tusk until we reach the lake house. Surprisingly, we don't find Fei, but instead the traitor President Ellis dead on the floor, with an echo showing Lao was the one who pulled the trigger. We chase after her, destroy the helicopter she tries to escape on, and finally take our old friend down. So Ellis and Lao are both just dead, I guess. Next, we jump to Agent Kelso, who has gone missing, with her last known location being the sunken tanker in New York. We arrive on site, where we find a beaten up division crate and Kelso talking to us over the radio. She asks if we're ready to see how far the rabbit hole really goes. We touch the box, get knocked on our ass, and some random dude appears behind us, cloning our Shade Watch and taking whatever was in the crate. Now, this right here is where they almost lost me. It's revealed that Aaron Keener and Theo Parnell are both alive somehow and are working with Agent Kelso, who has also gone rogue. After this, there are a few more manhunts involving us working with Keener and Theo inside DC. That was also very confusing. So you may ask, what the hell is going on here? How is Aaron Keener alive? Why is everyone going rogue for what feels like no reason? I was originally going to talk about how bad this game's story was and how I felt like a madman trying to piece it all together. That was until I watched this video right here by Mr. Rogue Gold. I highly recommend his channel. Let me quickly fill you in on some important details. Turns out the Black Tusk is run by some Russian lady named Natalia Sokolova. Long before the outbreak in the first game happened, she had some beef with America and the Division over some AI bullshit. More importantly, she placed a mole inside the US government. That mole was the Speaker of the House, Andrew Ellis. Alongside Ellis, we have Kelvin McManus, who is the current sitting leader of the Division, yes, the people we work for, and our boss, who is also in bed with the Black Tusk. On top of that, he is the leader of the Secret Hunter program. You know those spooky guys from both games? He uses them to hunt down agents who aren't on mission. So basically anyone him and his Russian girlfriend don't like. Now that leaves Aaron Keener. He discovered this conspiracy somehow, so his actions in Warlords of New York is just him trying to make a chemical weapon to fight the Black Tusk and pretending to sacrifice himself so Fei Lao joining the Black Tusk would be believable. Yes, Fei Lao was a double agent. Keener told her about Sokolova and McManus, which led them to join forces. Fei went undercover inside Black Tusk, helped Barton Schaefer defect to our side, killed President Ellis to make sure the Black Tusk can't use him as a puppet anymore, and died because we didn't know she was a double agent. Kelso learns of Fei's real plan, and that's the reason she went rogue and joined up with Keener. To put it simply, the last remnants of the American American government are helping a foreign paramilitary group move in and take over the country during the apocalypse. I did skip over a bunch of stuff, but I do believe knowing these few key details makes the story a lot less of a headache. Okay, now we have one more DLC to tackle. I will be completely honest with you. The Battle for Brooklyn DLC isn't really that interesting, with it being more of a side story, so I'm gonna speed through it extremely quickly. The DLC has 8 missions spanning from fighting cleaners, taking out refineries, working with Dr. Jessica Candle again, and having a boss fight with a Black Tusk blimp that somehow they built during the apocalypse. I like the DLC exclusively for the new explorable area of Brooklyn. It was still fun to play, and with the ending revealing that Theo is in possession of the DNA printer used to make the original Dollar Flu, I'm sure nothing bad will come from that. Now for the real question. Is this game's story any good? For me personally, it doesn't matter if you have a fantastic story. If you execute that story in a shitty way, it ruins the overall experience. The Division 2 has a extremely convoluted story that's hard to follow unless you do some serious homework. The funny thing is, there are some really good and interesting concepts buried in this game. Good ideas trapped in a game that can't do its story justice. Seems very familiar. I will say, I still enjoyed my time playing through the story content, be it the set pieces, the beautiful locations, getting new gear from completing missions, exploring the open worlds of DC, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. I don't know what else to say besides gameplay, good, story, fun, yes. Okay, enough of the story. How about we actually play the damn game? We are now level 40, which means gear drops from this point forward are all the same level, which begs the question, what do we grind for? First is the Shade Watch. It's the same one we get at the end of the New York DLC and grants us a new upgrade path in the form of shade levels. By killing enemies and completing objectives, you gain XP, and with each new level, you receive 1 upgrade point that can be used to unlock some very powerful permanent stat bonuses. At the beginning, these upgrades don't really do much, but over time, and matching it out, they become extremely useful. The watch bonuses cap out at level 1000, but after that, you will continue to gain levels, showing you're more dedicated and way cooler than everyone else. Now for the extremely important tinkering station. This station can be found inside the White House or by pressing M while in your inventory, and has 3 very useful features, being the library, tinkering, and expertise. In most games, when you grind to acquire gear that has random rolls, grinding for something specific would normally take forever. That's where the library comes into play. Attributes on weapons and gear drop on a spectrum shown by this bar right here. Further left means worse, further right means stronger, and it will light up orange when you have a maxed out roll. A weapon or gear piece with 2 crappy stats and 1 really good one will just get trashed. But if you were to pop that thing into the library menu, perform a little sucky, you can yoink that maxed out attribute or good talent for later, but destroying the item in the process. Now that brings us to tinkering. Tinkering is where you put your saved attributes and talents from your library to work. This is a police M4, a decently good assault rifle. It dropped with some great core attributes, a very good talent, but has an average secondary attribute. I open up my library, swap that some bitch out, and bada bing bada boom, we have ourselves a improved weapon. Tinkering does lock all their slots from being changed on that item, so having something drop that's somewhat decent to begin with is a must. Now that our weapon has good overall attributes, we can do something called optimization in the same menu. By holding X on PC, you can raise attributes to the max level by using resources you get from dismantling gear, clearing control points, shade watch levels, or optimization caches. Lastly is expertise, which is very simple. The more you use a certain weapon, gear piece, or skill, you increase its level until you become proficient with it. The more things you become proficient in, the higher your expertise level becomes. The higher your expertise level is, you get stat bonuses added to your proficient items, making you even stronger, giving you a rewarding incentive to try and use all the different items and skills in the game. Now quickly, we have specializations, which are pretty cool. We have sets to choose from, with them providing you with some more bonuses, unique abilities, as well as giving you access to a very powerful signature weapon. I mostly used Gunner because I thought a minigun was really cool and it paired very nicely with my striker build I will show later. I love this gameplay loop, checking new loot that drops for stat rolls I can add to my library, tinkering and optimizing weapons to get the most out of them, being rewarded with expertise by using new skills, gear, and weapons, testing out specializations to see how they work in my current build. It's really addicting. Now, for the most important question, what are the best ways to get that juicy loot? Welcome to Countdown, aka the Mines of the Division 2, which is probably the most played game mode for a couple reasons. Running Countdown can be done very quickly. The amount of loot that drops is actually insane, and a little thing called targeted loot. Let me explain. Normally, in most looter shooters, if you wanted to farm for a specific weapon or set of gear, you would just have to endlessly grind and pray way what you wanted actually dropped. The Division 2 does it a little bit differently with targeted loot, which comes in two main flavors. Rotating, where in the open world, missions, and selected activities, the targeted category rotates daily, or the easier route. Play modes like Countdown or the Summit and just select what you want from this long-ass list, and boom, you're showered in your selected loot type. To clarify, targeted loot doesn't just give you what you want. It tightens the RNG to drop more of a specific thing. So you can't just select a very powerful gun, but need to choose that weapon's archetype and hope it drops after a while. Targeted loot is a pretty smart system. With the absolutely stupid amount of gear in the Division 2, it doesn't gatekeep making a build around hours and hours of endless grinding. It moves more people into the optimization stage of the endgame, where people spend some serious time improving and shaping their builds to their liking. Now back to Countdown, which is an 8-player mode, where you enter a nuclear power plant to stabilize the reactor, neutralize whatever faction had taken it over, and escape in under 15 minutes. Before we start, I always play on challenging difficulty, because it's the easiest to matchmake for and isn't that hard if you're at least level 40. Landing at the nuclear site, the two teams start on opposite sides of the complex, and first, we always go to shut down the 3 countermeasures that are usually guarded by a hunter. With them offline, the two teams meet up and need to complete 2 of the 3 objectives to unlock the reactor. These objectives are pretty straightforward. The reactor will then open, complete the tasks inside, and you're done. Now it's time to leave. Stick with your team and shoot your way to the extraction point. And please don't shoot the signal flare off until at least 10 seconds remaining, because now is the time for everyone to sit at the exfil and farm the endlessly respawning enemies for that sweet, sweet loot. Finally, extract, and you, my friend, have secured yourself a stupid amount of gear and weapons. For me, the best part of Countdown has to be that every run that you extract, you are given special tokens that can be spent at a vendor outside the White House for different types of caches, which makes grinding this mode even more worth it. I did around 12 runs of Countdown and can confirm it is the best time for reward activity in the game and is very fun. Next on our list is the Summit, and once again, whoever is cooking up these game modes over at Massive keeps dropping heaters. The Summit is a 100-floor skyscraper that tasks you with fighting all 6 enemy factions, surviving random events, finding hidden loot rooms, and having a boss fight every 10 floors. And the ability to select your targeted loot makes this a nice alternative to Countdown if you're not in the mood with dealing with other people. The best part for me and my demented zoomer brain is your progress climbing floors saves every 3 levels. So when I get bored, I can go do something else and come back whenever I want to. I don't have much more to say. It's fun and another great addition to the huge list of stuff to do. Now, for a game mode I wasn't a huge fan of, Descent. I'll say this off rip. I'm not a huge roguelike guy, so take that into account when I say I didn't really feel much drive to continue after clearing my first few rooms. How Descent works is by stripping you of all your gear, weapons, shade tech, and watch bonuses, and sending your naked little agent into a simulation where you fight off waves of enemies to see how long you can survive. Every now and then, you'll get a chance to choose a new weapon, steal our talent to make you stronger, and raise the odds you'll actually make it to the end to fight the final boss called the Nemesis. For completing runs, you'll receive some permanent upgrades that make future runs easier, but at least for me, the rewards don't match the time investment. Maybe it's because I only have around 80-ish hours in the game. There was so much other things I wanted to do, and Descent just didn't speak to me very much. But if you're fiending for a third-person roguelike experience, then maybe this could be right up your alley. The Dark Zone in the original Division was one of my favorite things about it, with its risk versus reward gameplay loop, huge open world to explore, challenging PvE fights, and always the chance some rogue dickhead could emerge from the shadows, shoot me, and take my stuff. So how did they improve on the Dark Zone in the Division 2? Well, now instead of one huge open map, we have 3 smaller dark zones, which each played slightly differently. The DZ still works the same as before. When you enter, all gear you find or pick up off enemies has the virus on it, which requires you to head to the extraction point, shoot off a flare, and have it exfilled by helicopter for quarantine. It's different from just looting normally in the open world because other players have the ability to go rogue and take their goodies for themselves. Sounds fun, right? Well, somehow they made it worse. In my opinion, of course. First, the zones being smaller just means you are guaranteed to run into more players while exploring. PvP can be fun, but at least for the time being, it kinda screws over new players because of the Shade Watch and expertise bonuses being active in the Dark Zone. More than likely, you'll get gunned down by some no-lifer, not because he outplayed you, but because he has more time invested than you. At least for me, I like my PvP based on skill. When I lose a fight, I want it to be because I suck, not because I go outside more often than the other guy. The Division 2 does have some good Dark Zone changes. Clearing landmarks is as fun as ever. There are DZ levels to grind and perks to unlock, and surprisingly, I really enjoyed just chatting people up in the Dark Zone. One night, I entered to get some footage and ran into a group of gamers just chatting it up, with one or two of us occasionally going rogue so the group could hunt them down. This turned into us 1v1ing, then me splitting off with some chill guys to clear landmarks and roaming in a group to hunt down other players. It was really fun. As it stands, with how much loot is showered on you in every other mode, the DZ kinda feels a little neglected in its current state. At least it's still decently populated and I was able to have some fun. Conflict is a Division 2's 4v4 PvP mode that is kind of infamous for being a sweaty gamer's wet dream, while also being a decently good way to earn endgame gear. I played around a dozen matches of Conflict and I will say this, I did enjoy myself and can see the potential the game mode has, but it just needs a few tweaks. Unlike the Dark Zone, Conflict disables Shade Watch and Expertise bonuses, which is awesome. Learning this, I jumped right in and proceeded to have my ass clapped immediately. Conflict requires you to spend some time grinding for some sort of PvP build if you want to succeed, which is very disappointing. I did get some kills with my Striker build, and I used a crappy set of Umbra for a few matches, but I still always got smoked by gamers with builds they've been min-maxing for years. You can call me a filthy casual, which is fine, but not every PvP match should require me to first slave away in Countdown. Adding some sort of casual mode with baseline stats and no set bonuses, and then maybe a rank mode where the Sweat Lords can have their way with each other. That's just what I think, at least. Now, I want to quickly talk about the open world and the endgame. After hitting level 40, you can change the open world difficulty for better loot drops and add up to 5 directives that switch up the way you play while also gaining you more XP. In the endgame, you can grind out control points in the open world, which is a great way to farm blueprints. Control points can also be reset endlessly, making them very easy and enjoyable to grind. And finally, the mode that surprisingly became one of my favorites, Retaliation. By continuously killing the same faction, you will fill up that faction's retaliation meter. Once active, Manny will give you a call saying that faction is retaliating to your actions, which just means they lock down a section of the city. You get dropped in and have a limited amount of time to clear 3 to 4 control points in the area. On top of being another great way to farm for endgame blueprints, Retaliation is where I had my beloved St. Elmo's assault rifle drop, so maybe I'm biased. For me, the cherry on top and what made me fall in love with the Division 2 and its endgame is the fact that I can play literally anything and see some sort of reward. Whether I was running Countdown, scaling the summit, getting railed in PvP, farming in the open world, or making friends in the Dark Zone, every single thing I did fed back into the same loop. Make my agent stronger, get new loot, and slowly improve my builds to make them better and better. Okay, let's get myself a proper build so I can finally take on the endgame raids. Like I said earlier, gear drops in 7 different rarities. Once you hit level 40, the only rarities that actually matter are high-end, gear set, and exotic. Massive has recently added a whole new rarity into the game called Prototype Gear. It's currently tied to the new escalation mode and seems to be the endgame after the endgame, tailored to the most dedicated of Division 2 gamers, so I will be sticking to the fundamentals for the time being. For gear, mostly all high-end drops have a certain brand attached to them. What does this mean? Gear brands are important because when you have multiple pieces of gear that are of the same brand, you receive something called a brand set bonus. For my build, I'm using the unit alloy set. 1 piece on my body gives me improved rate of fire, 2 pieces gives me extra assault rifle damage, and 3 pieces increases my magazine size. Brand set bonuses have a cap of 3 pieces, so wearing a 4th wouldn't do anything and would just be a waste. But it gets even better when you bring gear sets into the equation. Gear sets work very similarly to brand sets, but instead have a cap of 4 pieces and bonuses that are usually stupid powerful. I will be using the Striker gear set because it's really good and one of the most popular sets in the game. 1 piece of Striker on my body, nothing happens. 2 pieces provides improved weapon handling. 3 increases my rate of fire, and finally having 4 pieces gives me the Striker Gamble talent, which involves generating stacks for increased damage. What does that mean? Striker is all about hitting consecutive shots on enemies to build up stacks. The more this bar is filled up, the more damage you are dealing. Stop shooting and the stats start falling off. A popular strategy is using something like a shotgun to build stats very quickly, then swapping to your main weapon to do damage. When my stats are maxed out, I'm pumping close to double my normal total weapon damage. With around 25 different gear sets, I'm certain there's something in this huge pile for every playstyle. Now that we know how set bonuses work, what's up with all these damn colors? When gear drops, they have 1 core attribute of either weapon damage, armor, or skill damage, which is usually abbreviated as red, blue, or yellow cores. A full red core build is all about doing damage, but a slight breeze could kill you. A blue core build is all about having more armor, so you're tankier but do less damage. A yellow core build increases your overall skill tier, shown down here, which makes your skills stronger, so your drone or turret do more damage, or healing skills do more healing. The higher the skill tier, the better the robots work. Gear also has secondary attributes and mods that can be applied applied for extra bonuses. Secondary attributes are just kind of used to supplement your gear, and adding gear mods on top of that, you can min-max the crap out of your gear to your heart's content. Mixing all of these things together leads to a huge amount of player choice when creating your build. The time has finally come to show my personal striker build I will be using in the raids so we can see all that gear nonsense in action. And here it is, my crappy little 6 red core striker build. This bad boy has 4 pieces of striker to build stacks for stupid damage, 2 unit alloy pieces alongside my St. Elmo's engine for its huge bullet magazine and shock ammo to stun enemies. I use the gunner specialization, a revive hive so I can pick myself up when I do something stupid, and the banshee pulse that comes from gunner to stun huge crowds of enemies. Lastly, the mask, backpack, chest allowing mods, adding critical hit chance and damage makes this build just that more deadly. I really like this build because it's fun, simple to use, and stupidly easy to farm through countdown with targeted loot. If you want to do any group activities, I highly recommend getting something close to this. The best advice I can give to you is just go watch some YouTube videos to find a build that speaks to you. That's what I did, and it worked out very well. Okay, my annoying ramblings are over. Time to join some Discord servers and force people to carry me. Huge shout out to the boys in the footage. First, we tackle the 4-man incursion, Paradise Lost. The division gets a distress call from the nearby Merritt estate, which is being attacked by a group of cleaners, so we're sent in to take them out. First, we assault the front of the estate and need to take out the 2 guard turrets that were taken over by the cleaners. Normally, you're supposed to have someone climb up on a small building or the fire truck and shoot a pile of explosives that will destroy the turret, but I got paired up with some god-tier gamers. By using the oxidizer chem launcher skill, one of my teammates had a lineup. When he shot the oxidizer, it would land perfectly on the explosive pile, destroying the turret. True gamer activity right here. He did it to both outside turrets, and we made our way inside the estate. Next, we need to protect the oil tanker the cleaners drove in. It's pretty straightforward. Kill all enemies that spawn, prioritize the highlighted guys who try to bum rush the tanker, and after a few waves, kill the last chunga hiding behind the front door. We make our way through several rooms until we reach the basement, where the third and most annoying encounter takes place, killing Big Boy Wright. The main objective is to have someone lure Wright underneath the water sprinklers, while another person releases a valve that dumps water on him, causing a damage phase. Do this a few times, clear any ads that spawn, and you're good to go. It's way easier said than done. Lastly are the freaky ass final bosses called the Lovebirds. Normally, you're supposed to enter the boss arena, run around avoiding ads, mortar fire, and constantly moving. We said, screw all of that. We're gonna sit in the spawn area and just shoot them. Yes, it's really that simple. We dodge the first wave of mortars. We lure Martinez close to us, do some damage, the drone flies over to heal, which we destroy mid-flight. Martinez retreats, but we continue to blast her until she dies. This then triggers Johnson to start sending more drones our way. Now, all we have to do is hide in the spawn room. Johnson will push up to us, where we blast him until he meets his wife in cleaner heaven. And with that, the incursion is complete. Overall, a very fun 4-man incursion that's been beaten down by the community to find every single trick in the book. Next is the Operation Dark Hours raid. Raids are different from incursions because you need double the amount of people, which makes it harder to find groups for. Turns out when the Black Tusk invaded DC, they sent a bunch of prototype equipment to the abandoned Washington National Airport. So we are sent over there to find out whatever it is and blow it up. We land, fight our way through waves of Black Tusk until we enter the airport. Our first encounter is taking out this guy named Boomer. The gist is that Boomer is immune to any damage except the 2 miniguns on either side of the room. 2 players go on the miniguns while everyone else lures him in front to be shot in his red backpack. After some damage from the minigun, he will kneel down to heal, and that's when everyone else does the damage phase. The remaining players have to kill ads and watch out for laptops in the center of the room that need to be turned off. Repeat the damage phases until he dies. 1 boss down. The next encounter's in a hangar and tasks you with killing 3 bosses. The hangar is split into 2 sides with orange and purple gas, but all we did was just focus the bosses, and it was over in around a minute and a half. Next is fighting the 2 warhounds named Buddy and Lucy. The 2 robots need to be killed at the same time. They have regenning armor and a wide range of attacks to try to stun you or kill you. We all post up, dump as much damage as we can into the 2 robots, and just barely take them out at the same time. Now, on to the final and most mechanically intensive part of the raid, the Razorback. This is where all 8 players need to lock in. The gamers are spread out around the tarmac. Generators need to be stood by to be charged. Vents will then open. Grenades get thrown in. Weak points are exposed. And if the team messes up, everything goes to hell really quickly. Luckily, my job was simple. Sit in my little corner, kill ads in the chunga that spawns, and try not to look stupid in front of the Division veterans. When the Razorback is exploding, destroy the 4 SAM turrets on the edges of the map to complete the raid. Definitely watch a guide before attempting. A very good and quick raid. Now, onto the longest and most complicated raid in the game. Operation Iron Horse is extremely confusing and complicated for a newbie like me, but the team I had was extremely patient and kind, so shout out to them. We received word that the Black Tusk have a weapon called the Iron Horse that can threaten the White House, so we are sent in to take it out. Arriving on site, we enter the foundry, secure the rail yard, and start our first encounter, taking out Lieutenant Gray. First, take out his shield guards, then just shoot him until he dies. Easy peasy, 1 down, 4 to go. We make our way through a furnace and complete a quick puzzle to reach the next encounter, killing Captain Fraser inside the foundry's forge. Normally, this encounter is a nightmare of lava, control room jobs, some stuff with a water pump, and people just yelling codes and symbols at each other, at least to my knowledge. But once again, the god-tier gamers took over. I was instructed to watch this panel on the wall. When the encounter started, the group leader would call out a symbol, and whoever's panel showed the same symbol would have to follow the connected wire to a power box and shoot it. I don't know the exact mechanics of what happened. One of our teammates entered the forge and performed some type of black magic ritual to solo the boss, ending the encounter in less than 4 minutes. It did take a few tries, but after this moment, it opened my eyes to the possibilities maxed out endgame builds had to offer. We pushed our way through the aqueduct and entered the main furnace for the 3rd encounter, keeping the furnace room from exploding and killing Major William. Once again, this encounter requires a stupid amount of numbers and heavy mechanics. Basically, I was put into a group of newbies who sat and killed ads while the pros ran around raising and lowering the pressure. We stayed put like good little boys until we were given the word to shoot some lava, then 2 levers to progress the encounter. After that, we all went up to the top level to do some ad clear, and finally, everyone grouped up to shoot the boss until we put the big boy down. With 3 of the 4 bosses dead, we rushed to stop Colonel Morozova from escaping with the weapon. We derail her train, which leads into the 4th and my favorite encounter of the raid. We all group up in a nearby garage, get our builds sorted out, and move in to destroy the Black Tusk weapon and kill Morozova. First, we must disable the main gun. Its ammo and side turrets on the train with rocket launchers dropped from Black Tusk soldiers, making sure to stick close to the back wall, avoiding the auto turret that fires. After doing some damage to the train, Morozova will call in an airstrike while simultaneously firing the auto turret that's on the back wall, requiring us to hide underneath the train and behind a teammate with a shield to avoid wiping. Next, we pick up keys to use the auto turret to do damage to the train. Morozova will come out to fight, but after taking enough damage will retreat back inside her hidey hole until we destroy the train fully. We avoid one more wipe phase and smoke her when she comes out for one last stand, and with that, we get the cutscene confirming we finished the raid. A massive shout out to the GC Rock Discord for helping a beginner run some of the Division 2's hardest content. So that's it. I love the gameplay. I love collecting loot, working on my builds, trying the new content that drops, making new friends, trying all of the varied content this game has to offer. And when they finally add survival to the Division 2, you bet your ass I'll be in there looking for my old friend Trod-Door 1969. Yes, I read your comments and I'm now educated on the Burninator. Let me know what game I should play next, and as always, thank you for watching this long.